remember that.
Yeah, 28 weather-related disasters, each created more than $1 billion worth of damage last year across the country, and that was a record for the United States.
Meteorologist Vicki Graff is here now, and that's got some real financial consequences, Vicki.
That's right. The problem is much of our infrastructure wasn't built to handle storms of this magnitude, and that's causing huge issues for roads, bridges, and dams, as well as for personal property like homes and cars. That begs the question, what should we be doing to protect our families and our wallets? A storm of epic proportions hit Needham last August.
A lot of water in basements and that type of thing, yeah.
People who had never had trouble before, were dealing with flooded basements and, water, coming through roofs. And
roads and neighborhoods that don't usually flood were overwhelmed with a sudden deluge of rain. Tell me about this brook here and how bad was the flooding in that recent event?
Sure. So the flooding here ended up topping the walls of this particular brook. Our 470 building had over 6 inches of water in it, and that's the first time that building has taken in that amount of water before.
Alder Brook in Needham was created in the 1800s as part of the town's water supply.
Older projects maybe didn't have to accommodate storm water quite as much.
There really is substantially increased rainfall.
Professor Carrick Eggleston is an expert on civil engineering and the environment at Worcester Polytechnic Institute.
The runoff then is greater than some of the drainage systems in our cities are really designed to handle. And it's happening obviously much more frequently.
The consequences can be devastating in older cities, like what happened in Leominster last September. In Needham, they've assembled a task force to assess the new reality they're experiencing. Karis Lustig is director of the DPW. She says there are no simple solutions.
I think the old approach was sort of stick bigger pipe in the road, which is very expensive. It's about $1,000 per foot for installation of pipe. I can't tear up every single road in town in order to install more pipe.
All the property damage associated with these weather events is wreaking havoc on the insurance industry.
It's forcing a lot of issues in terms of the premium increases that everyone's starting to face.
Destroyed homes, crushed cars. John Hegarty of Commonwealth Insurance Partners in Quincy says handling all those claims has to get paid for one way or another. He suggests consumers start thinking differently about their policies and consider higher deductibles to keep costs down.
You have to look at your home policy as a catastrophe policy, really. You don't want to look at it as a maintenance policy. The stuff you can afford to fix on your own, fix on your own. You don't want to put those claims in because you're going to get canceled.
Much of the damage homeowners are facing from rising waters is in their basements. Lustig thinks it's time to rethink how this space is used.
I know a lot of people during COVID ended up renovating their basements, and I think what we've been suggesting to people is not investing significantly in expensive millwork and other things, and instead investing in hardening their electrical systems, their heating systems.
Professor Eggleston believes it's a good idea to do some research on where you live as conditions change.
Massachusetts has a lot of topography and wetlands, so I think it's worth thinking about looking at flood maps.
And it's hard to imagine what future challenges lie ahead, but Eggleston sees some certainties.
There's no question that it will cost a lot to improve the infrastructure. It's not just a question of doing more of what we already do. One of the consequences of climate change is that it makes existing problems worse.
The American Society of Civil Engineers does an annual report card of infrastructure and gave Massachusetts a C- for the state of our systems here. Those systems will get a lot of stress in years ahead. Professor Eggleston says what used to be a 100-year storm now comes about every 8 years. Catherine?